Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another World of Tanks review, this time featuring the Russian beast that is the IS-7. Going to start off as usual, talking a bit about the line, then we'll go over the tank's stats, its crew and equipment choices, and then we'll have a look at its rolling games and what I think it should do. This is quite a niche tank. To play it properly, I think it's harder than some of the other tier 10 tanks. Its role is a bit more difficult to nail down, if that makes sense, and its strengths are sometimes a bit harder to kind of put into action. But without further ado, let's go for it. Starting as usual with the line. This line is really pretty solid. Again, not going to talk too much about tier 1 to 6, although the KV1 gets a special mention at tier 5 because it's a very, very good tank. Is it the 122 you use on this tank? I don't think so. I think it's the 85. Yeah, the 85mm here, very, very effective gun. Then move up to the KV1S, the famed beast that is the KV1S, with a 390 average damage gun at tier 6. This really just completely flattens every other tank at tier 6. KV1S and the Hellcat just completely boss this tier. Yeah, no more to say really. This gets the gun of the IS-6 premium tank, which is a tier 8 premium tank, and it gets that gun at tier 6. So, you know, say no more. The IS is a bit of a step up from the KV1S, sorry. It plays in a pretty similar way. Although, because it's a tier higher, it's starting to meet more kind of competition. Really, the IS and the IS-8 share a role because they're both pretty quick. Their armor isn't great, but they both have really good guns for their tier. So that's still a thing to keep in mind. The IS-3, one of the best tanks at tier 8. I haven't played it in a while. It did receive some slight adjustments, shall we say, to the armor recently. I never really find them all that difficult to deal with, but this gun is really, really good. 225 pen, 390 average damage. Yeah, really, really solid gun. That's going to go through anything at tier 8 and a lot of stuff at tier 9. So, yeah, really, really good. It's quick, and it's got, you know, like the IS series in general, it's got very, very trolley armor. Really, really strong turrets as well. So, good times. IS-8 is a bit of a beast as well. As I said earlier, compared to the M103 and the E75, the armor isn't quite as reliable, but it does still have that IS series troll armor. You know, sometimes you get funny bounces, and there's lots of angles on these tanks, so sometimes you get really lucky bounces. This gun, the M62T2, is an absolute beast as well. 440 average damage, good refire rate, yeah, good pen as well. Really, really solid gun. It gets APCR as gold. Yeah, really, really good. And again, it's very, very quick as well. 750 horsepower engine with a tank that only weighs 50 tons. So yeah, this thing, you know, it's really like a big medium tank, quite honestly. Then we move on to the IS-7, and for that we'll have a look at its stats. So, 2,150 health points. That's pretty low. But it pays for that in other areas, and I'll go through that in a second. But it's you know, it's a lot lower. It's 850 less health than the mouse. You know, about 600 less than the 650 less than the E100. It's even got 50 less than the E5. You know, and the E5 is kind of a big medium. So yeah, there's some weird. It's, you know, but it'll all become clear in a minute, I promise. It's got a 1,050 horsepower engine, and it weighs 70 tons. This is a quick tank, as you can see, 59 miles per hour. Sorry, kilometers per hour, top speed limit. It's quick but not agile. It has trouble. You know, it's a bit of a pig to turn around, as you can see, 28 and 25. And it doesn't really, you know, spinning this thing around is a bit of a pain, but it's very, very fast in a straight line. Which is good because it really helps. Now let's talk about the armor, which ties in with the hit points. Okay, so just bear with me here. 150 at the front, 150 at the side, and 100 at the rear. Now that doesn't seem like a lot for a heavy tank, but if you look here at the front of the front hull, if you look at the angle there, right, it's featuring the pike nose. Now you see this on the IS-3, the IS-8 and the IS. It's also featured on the front of the Object 268, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else that does it, but it's basically this idea of a pike nose. So you can see there's a crease down the middle of the tank, and it slants away, right, from the middle of the tank. There's a crease, and then these angles get steeper. Now that means that the most effective way to angle this tank when someone's firing at you is like that, right from the front, because if they're firing here, these angles are increased if you're looking directly at them. If you start doing this angle gets shallower, so it's easier to pen here, right? So really you want to be sat right like this. However, this comes with the added problem of exposing this lower plate, and this is a big lower plate. You know, if you just look at the front of the tank, you know, the lower plate takes up 35% maybe of the front of the hull, which is pretty big. What does that mean? Well, it means that kind of in the same way as the E5, if you're firing at the E5 at range, trying to hit that cupola is quite difficult. You know, this kind of the same. If you're firing this thing at long range, it's quite a low profile tank. You know, if I just bring out the E5 next to it, you know, the E5 is actually taller, and this is not a tall tank either. You know, the profile on this is really quite low. If I bring it out next to, let's say, the Waffle Traeger, I mean, look at that. The Waffle Traeger is almost twice the height with the turret on the back, right? So this is a pretty low profile tank. So yeah, firing at it from range, I mean, good luck. I mean, obviously you're going to aim specifically for here, and you kind of see that happen in a couple of videos I'm going to show you. But it's you know, it's annoying. However, close up, I mean, okay, I'm not the greatest fan of this tank because I don't like how unreliable the armor is. I'm not saying that I don't appreciate it for what the tank is, and it does have a very specific role, which I'll talk about in a second. But I mean, close range, if you're let's say under 150, 200 meters, just aim. If it's looking right at you like this, aim for this right here. If it's angled itself, aim here, because if you look right, if you look coming in like this, there's way less angle, and this is only 150, right, and it is quite steeply angled. But you know, as opposed to shooting at it from this direction, where you've got the fact that it's sloped down and sideways, if you fire it like that, it's only sloped down. You know, there's no side angle on that anymore. You know, just if you're firing in from this direction. So really, and also any gun at tier 10 can go through the front of an IS-7. So like here, shoot there. If it's like that, shoot there. It's not always an exact science, because the armor on this tank is, while it's unreliable when you're driving it, it's very annoying to shoot at IS-7s, because sometimes, if you just look at the front of the tank, there's just all sorts of weird angles going on there. I mean, there's another crease, look. So it kind of changes. It's just odd, right? You've got to be very, very sure what you're firing at. It's a bit of an optical illusion, this tank. You know, firing at the front of it is kind of a dice roll sometimes. But then sometimes, you know, I've had it where I've tried to angle this tank as perfectly as I can, and people have just fired at it. You know, you get games where you get steel walls in this tank, and then you get games where everything pens you. You know, and you barely do anything different. So yeah, if you know where you're firing, this tank gets a lot easier to pen. The turret is one of the best turrets at tier 10, mainly because of the low profile, but as you can see, the cupola is almost non-existent, and that cupola is very, very well armoured anyway. By the way, just to give you some quick armour stats that I just forgot to, 150 armour here on the front, 185 here, okay? Now that's not a bad angle, but it's still not great. So I would say that if you're firing, I mean, also because it's quite low, the shots are maybe going to be coming in from a bit higher. So that's maybe like a 210, 220 angle. If you 220 effective armor ish, if you include the angle, you know. And if sometimes it's all right, but yeah, I mean, again, lower plate on this thing, yeah, there are times when it just really screws you. Anyway, the turret, 240 at the front. This thing is pretty much impenetrable from the front. All this here is spaced armor around the gun mantle. Nothing is going to go through there at all. I have had Object 268 put rounds in, like right there and here, but that was pre the 450 heat nerf. So they don't have access to 450 heat anymore, 450 pen heat. So maybe it's going to be harder for them to do that. The cupola is tiny, really small. I've never actually been hit in the cupola. It's extremely bouncy on this tank. So really the turret on this tank does not really have any weak spots. However, from the side, it's 185 armor. Anything's going to be able to go through that, and the back, you know, pretty weak all round. So yeah, really, from the front, this tank. I mean, the other thing as well is if you can cover this lower plate with some rubble or whatever, or maybe the corpse of another tank, this tank is obscenely good at hull down. You know, and you can cover this lower plate. If they can still see your upper plate, that's fine. If you're looking straight at them, no one's going to go through this turret from the front. You're an obscene hull down tank. Let's talk about the gun. This is, in my opinion, the worst gun of tier 10. And just to kind of back that up a little bit, let's bring out some other tank guns, shall we? So let's bring out the E5's gun. That's not what I'm going to do at all. The mouse gun, and the other, let's say the 113, shall we? Oops, that's not what I want to do at all. And the 113. Now, let's just compare them quickly. So, the mouse has the worst rate of fire. Okay, the IS-7 does more DPM than the mouse. 4.38 is pretty good with 490 average damage, and this is one of the things this gun has going for it. It's got big alpha. Okay, but then we start looking at everything else. Now, I'm very much a fan of the opinion that penetration, accuracy or dispersion, and aim time are all really part of the same stat, and that's not mathematically correct at all. Obviously they're all independent, but if you look at the E5, I mean, you guys saw my E5 review. You can 0.35 accuracy and 2 aiming time. I do not feel the need to use gold on the E5 at all. The E5 258 pen, only 8 more than the IS-7. I do not feel the need to use gold on this at all. You can snapshot with this thing, and your snapshots will be pretty accurate. Okay, so you can snipe with it as well, and you can aim for weak spots, and you're going to hit those weak spots. Okay, and 258 pen is fine. However, on the IS-7, 250 pen, 0.4 accuracy or dispersion at 100 meters. Okay, that's way worse than this. But the thing that really cripples this tank, 3.4 aiming time. That is huge. Okay, that's really bad, guys. That's glacial. I mean, this is huge. So, and the really bad pen, the really bad accuracy, sorry, and the 3.4 aiming time make this gun really bad at shooting anything over like 200 meters. Okay, you can snapshot with it. And I'm just going to throw this out there right now. As you can see, I don't use standard ammo in this tank. I really think that this tank needs gold to pen anything at tier 10 reliably. That's not entirely true. If I was using 250 pen stuff all the time, I would still do okay. But sometimes you need to fire and snapshot. Okay, like when you roll around a corner, you want to, so if you surprise someone, for example, you come around a corner, they don't know you're there, you want to get that snapshot away and then reverse back around the corner because they won't have a chance to return fire. But if you're, I mean, this thing, you really can't snapshot if you want reliable hits. You've got to wait for that huge aiming time to come down. and then even when it does come down, sometimes it misses anyway because the accuracy's garbage. And then it's got 250 pen on top of that, so you know you can wait for the entire aiming time to come down, which is pretty much the slowest aiming time of any tank at tier 10 apart from artillery. I'm just pulling that off the top of my head. Pretty sure that's correct. There might be, in fact, no, I'm pretty sure that's correct. I think the 183 might have something similar, but really poor aiming time, and it can still miss. So you can still sit there for 2.5 seconds in the open aiming, fire, and you'll still bounce. That's crushing, particularly with a reload that long. Okay, now you'll be saying, why is this gun better than the mouse? Well, mouse has got less pen. But again, people tend to just fire gold in the mouse anyway. I mean, 246, it's not, gets more pen on its gold, for example. Same alpha, more accurate, less aiming time, less fire rate, fine, okay, it's got less DPM. However, in the mouse, and really the IS-7, they excel in city fighting, right? And in city fighting you have the option to drive around the corner, fire, drive back again, okay? And the mouse has the armor, which means it can bounce pretty much anything if you angle it properly. Compare that to the E5's gun. The E5's gun blows this out of the water. The only thing this has over the E5's gun is its accuracy, alpha damage, sorry, and that's a lot of alpha damage. It's almost 100 more, and you will actually beat an E5 one-on-one. You can really crush them because you drive straight up to them, so you push up the front of your tank against theirs, and you just shoot their cupola, the huge cupola on the E5 again and again. He won't be able to pen you. However, the E5 can operate at long ranges with 2 aiming time, 0.35 accuracy. You can snipe shit reasonably well in the E5. You cannot do it in the IS-7. It just doesn't happen. Now the 113, 440 average damage, still a lot of damage. 5.5 refire rate, way better DPM than the IS-7. 249, 0.36 accuracy, again miles better. 2.7 aiming time. I mean, you can't go wrong. You do, yeah. The 113 again, just a much better gun. The IS-7 is really left lacking in the gun department, and it's one of the things it has to put up with. If you can make the gun work, which is why I tend to use gold a lot, because I feel like you need to pen stuff, right? And if you can get those pens off, 490 average damage is a lot. Okay, so I mean, if you can make that alpha work, this gun is really quite exceptional. I mean, well, not exceptional, but it's still 490 average alpha. And with the tank destroyer nerf, that's basically made all of the 490 guns better, because the tank destroyers are now hitting for 100 less, but these guns haven't changed, so they've become better in comparison. Anyway, let's move on. Talked about the armor. The Traverse, spoke about that a bit earlier, not great at all. 400 view, 720 signal. I'll talk about these guys and the stuff along here, and then I'll talk about the roll of the tank a little bit before we jump right into some gameplay. Pretty standard heavy tank stuff. This is a very good crew I have here, although the IS-8 didn't require a second loader, so you kind of got to pull this one out of nowhere, which is why he's so far behind everyone else. I start 6 cents repairs. Will normally go. I will then normally go, as soon as the repairs hit 100%, I'll change that out for BIA, and then get repairs again for my second skill, and then after that I will pick up the specific skills. So safe stowage. This thing gets ammo racked quite a lot. I have a friend who, when he plays in his tier 10 tanks, he's got his Jagdpanzer E100 and his E100. He says that he more than any other tank at tier 10, he ammo racks IS-7s way more than any other tank. And I've seen it happen. Playing a few games with him yesterday, just fired a round right through here and just blew up the entire tank. Now, I've had it happen to me. I've been playing Clan Wars semi recently. I was holding a position, an E100 rolls around the corner. I start to kind of shake my tank backwards and forwards to angle the armor. He puts a round right here, and my entire tank blows up. Yeah, one shots me. So that's why I've got safe stowage. Not that there's anything else you should get anyway. I've got adrenaline rush on this thing, but simply because I don't think there's anything else. The loader skills aren't great. But anyway, I've got off-road driving, clutch braking again, pretty standard. snapshot deadeye, fairly standard, and 6th sense situational awareness. So again, it's kind of a no-brainer. But I'd start with repairs, BIA just to get that load time down, and then specific skills. Pretty standard lineup of the equipment. Potential is getting a gun laying drive. Excuse me. The gun laying drive, just to get that really colossal aim time down. You could switch that out for events, maybe, if you wanted to. I don't think I'd advise it, but I think that's the only really other option. Tank is pretty good at side scraping to a certain extent. However, if you imagine side scraping this thing out, this is fine. But when you come, so if there's the corners here, imagine you can see this. If you can look at them with your gun, they can see this part of your tank. And if you're angling like that when you're side scraping, that's a very flat angle. They can just put a round right there, So think about this again. This is where the punk nose is a bit awkward sometimes. Pretty standard equipment. This tank doesn't catch on fire very often at all. Engine oil for clan wars sometimes. Not a fan of the remove speed governor. Can be good in some situations, but I think it's more for medium tanks, quite honestly. So that's pretty much it for the ammo. Well, apart from here, just for the equipment, sorry. In terms of the ammo, I really think 250 pen's not enough. I think the mouse can survive with its standard ammo because it can afford to sit there and use its armor while it aims. But this tank has a very different role to the mouse, and I'll go into why that is right now, in fact. So this tank we're talking about, so as you get to the higher tiers, tier 10 specifically, all the tanks start to have specialized roles. Now this doesn't, you start to see this at tier 7, at tier 8, and it gets more and more obvious at tier 9, but at tier 10 it's especially obvious. The E5 is the flanking heavy. It doesn't have the armor it doesn't have the reliable armor it needs to brawl like the E100 or the mouse. So it flanks, and it's got the speed and it's got the gun to abuse the longer ranges and do that. The mouse and E100 are all about city fighting, and they've got the huge armor, they've got big high alpha guns, and they can side scope really, really well, really good at that. The IS-7 is a shock tank. And this is what I was talking about earlier. The reason why it doesn't have health compared to other tanks is because it's fast, okay? And it's not only is it fast, it relies a lot on this bit of its armor, okay? So you can keep up with mediums in this thing, okay? It's very bloody quick for a tier 10 heavy. So basically it's rolling games. Now, this is more in clan wars. In randoms, not so much, but in clan wars, you use this tank at the start of the game. You and a couple of other IS-7s or other tanks that can keep up with you rush key points on the map, okay? And you've got the armor to hold those points, okay? Because mediums can get there, but mediums are going to struggle, obviously, if they get pushed by heavy tanks on those key points. And normally those key points are going to be reasonably isolated for the first minute or so. So the IS-7s have got the speed to get to these points and hold them. If there's hold down positions, they can get there. The other thing about it as well is, if you've got a pack of IS-7s, they've all got 490 alpha guns, which means they can blap something, If they all shoot at one thing, and they pen, it's going to go in. And that's why this is one of the most used heavies in Clan Wars, guys. I would probably say the most used heavy. Again, it's horses for courses. You take different heavies on different maps for different things, but this, across most of the maps, I find it's a combination of good alpha, speed, good armor, and reliability. It doesn't get set on fire, it doesn't take a lot of crew or module damage. It's a really solid tank, but really it's the speed combined with the armor that lets it get to places and hold them. Now, we're not talking about clan wars, we're mainly talking about these tanks in random games. So so this tank I don't think is that good for randoms, because random games you need your tank to be pretty versatile, okay? Or you need it to be good at you need it to fill a role that is often required in random games, okay? E5 beautifully versatile tank. It's fast, it's got good armour, it's got a great gun. It can operate on almost any map. It can snipe if it has to, it can flank, and it can brawl. You know, it's not great at brawling, but it can do it. E100 and Mouse, for example, they suffer on open maps, mostly because of RT. But yeah, any town maps, they're king. They can side scrape, got really good side armour, and they've got that role. They can hold corners, they can push. You know, that armour, you know, really helps them. The IS-7, it can flank with that speed, but it hasn't got the gun of the E5, which just makes it it's also not as manoeuvrable, so it just can't flank as well as the E5. It cannot hold corners as well as Mouses or E100s. So what does it do? Well, I'll show you in the video a bit later on. You got to abuse its speed. You got to remember that it is a fast tank. It can hold its own. It does have armour comparable to the E100 of the Mouse in certain situations. However, this lower plate and this pike nose can sometimes really kind of screw you over, and also the gun as well can be a bit dodgy. As you can guess, this is a good tank. Don't get me wrong. It's not I don't really like it that much. However, I'm about to show you a mastery replay that I had yesterday, and it's a bit of a beast. I do make some mistakes, but again, I'm not trying to show you guys, you know, like a really heavily edited ownage video where I go 5-on-1 and somehow come out the other side. I don't think that explains anything to you guys. I want to show you a game, and I'm going to pick a game where I did well, just to show you what the tank can do, really. But I'm also going to include my mistakes, you know, and you're going to see them, and you're going to see how I recover from them. Okay. So yeah, talked a bit about the role, and it just hasn't got the versatility compared to some other tanks in randoms. Pretty much. I think the armour lets it down in certain situations, and the gun really lets it down. So anyway, without further ado, we'll start off with a replay on Himmelsdorf. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Welcome to Himmelsdorf. As ever, we're going to have a quick look at the teams before we go in. We have two E100s, so do they. We have two IS-7s, so do they. They have two Batchats and an E5. We've got one Batchat and some tank destroyers more than them. So looking at that, right now I'm thinking, well, okay, we've got my friend in the Waffelträger, the Jagdpanzer, and we have a 268 and a 263. We've got another IS-7 E100s. So I think we're going to be okay down the bottom in the city. However, they have two Batchats in a platoon and an E5, and two IS-7s. So I think I need to go help out the hill here. I think the hill was in the most danger, quite honestly. So that's where I decided to go. Yeah. So Himmelsdorf. Again, I talked about this a little bit in my Conqueror gun carriage video, but normally here and here are where the engagements are going to be, or here and somewhere up here, pardon me. Over here it's a bit sporadic. You're going to get some stuff here, some stuff maybe coming down here, but every single game, guys, without fail, there's going to be a fight around in this area and here and along here, right? Well, the game seems to be lagging a little bit. That's a bit weird. It's always nice to let your team know where you're going at the start of games. I do it here. And also something that's quite nice as well is if I look behind me, I can see that the Batchats are coming up. And you know, you've got to let your faster tanks up first, guys. So I deliberately go to the right here to let him through. It's always something that's nice to do. You know, you want to let your mediums get up there and hold the ground. The 263 tries to go around the side of me. You know, whatever, he can do that if he likes. But there we go. Now, we can see from the map, both their IS-7s are down south. They've got an E5 down there as well. So okay, the hill was looking better than I thought it would. One Batchat and a WZ coming up here so far. There's the other Batchat. Okay, thought the Batchat platoons were going to be coming up here. Thought that was pretty obvious. So here we go. That WZ's being very cheeky indeed. So I don't want to get myself spotted just yet. I roll out, try and take a shot at the Batchat. It doesn't happen. Now this WZ is kind of the bane of my life this game, and you're about to see why. So here he comes. Not sure what happened there. I think I just aimed badly. But you know, sometimes it happens. It's fine. This WZ should have been taking so much damage, but again, just okay. Could have been me. Could have been the IS-7 gun. You can see me complaining about it in the chat because that pissed me off quite a lot. Don't really know what happened there, but I mean, whatever. Sometimes shit like that happens. Okay, so quickly evaluating. They've got an M103, an IS-8, 2 bat chats up here. That's quite a nasty concoction. This guy is sitting behind me, so I'm pushing him out of the way. I don't know what he's doing. Again, the gun. This has got 6 degrees of gun depression, and it really shows because I can't get it down enough to hit this bat chat here. It's just, and this is why, although this tank is good at hold down, as you can see, you don't have the gun depression to really make it work. And it's another factor about this tank that again annoys me. Like, it's good at hold down, fine, but you can't abuse it on a hill at all. You know, you need debris in front of you, basically. And I've got it here, and I just don't have the gun depression to look at stuff. So the M103's fired, so I come round. Nice big hit into the side of him. Pretty big roll there. Pretty good with that. I've looked at both of them. They're not exceptional players, so I think I'm okay to come round and take shots. I think they'll panic and just shoot at any part of me they can see. M103 fires again, so I decide to roll out once more. 507. So that alpha damage really making it work. That I did spot that WZ right here, for the AMX rather. Sorry, but I you know, you don't want to start turning to look at smaller threats when you've got other tanks that can deal with them. I'm the one on the corner, you know, with these 3 tanks staring at me. You know, this IS-7's not playing it particularly well, but what can you do? He does get a nice big hit into the M103, which is good stuff. I don't really want to come round with that bat chat staring at me to finish off the M103. Speaking of bat chats, however, I noticed these guys taking a peek. He sits still for a bit too long. 447. IS-7's doing work. Now this, I come out way too early. I don't play this tank very often. I come out way too early. I thought my reload would be up. It isn't. I waste all that time and then just completely whiff that shot. That's utterly my fault for just misjudging my reload. That was really poor play of me. And again here, I try for it again. 537, nice big hit into the bat chat. They're coming forward again. They've all fired. I need to help my guys out. As you can see, I kind of mount this slightly. I kind of mount that. As you can see, my track's off the ground. Can't look down enough. The gun depression just fucks you in this tank. And I take, again, that was really my fault for clipping that. I take a lot of damage for that. Really big mistake by me. Always be careful of that stuff, guys. You don't want to make stupid mistakes like that. But anyway, now I've got my game face on. I'm like, right, okay. I don't even care. There's 3 tanks here. I'm going to start coming around this corner. Angle it nicely. With that shot, he reversed at the right time. I just keep wiggling. Again, that was bloody close. As you can see, that IS-7 very nearly shot me in the back. That was a bloody stupid thing to do. Ignoring this WZ. He's been so lucky this entire game. I don't understand what he's doing, but is he called Wizard? No, he's called something else. But both of my shots missed on him. The IS-7 tried to shoot him and then he fucking hit me in the back. So that guy is causing all sorts of chaos. We've got the T-71 shooting at the side of me. Doesn't really bother me that much. Bat chat, however, does bother me. That was the GW100 to hit that bat chat on our team right there. So that was a bloody good shot. Wait, was it? Surely not. Because that's a weird angle for him to hit it at. Okay. Well, he must have been hit, but I really saved us because I think that bat chat had a full clip. I would have been in a real bad way if he'd have got past. So now I started to angle against this. because why not? But then these two rush me. So now we're kind of in a bad position. This IS-7's backing off, as you should do, because I'm pretty low health. Okay, so now we kind of get to see the bounce potential of this tank. See, he puts another round into me there, gets the hit off, take another bounce. He just hits my track, doesn't do any damage, and tracks me. This T-71's still bouncing off me over there. So I luckily angle my armour, because that could have been pretty ugly otherwise. I push forward. Again, the T-71's on a reload. I don't really care. He can do whatever he likes. The IS-8, I'm pretty confident is going to whiff this, and he does. He just fires right, although that was kind of the correct place to fire. But it was still kind of at a bit of an angle. He's a bit higher up than me, so that increases the angle on this. But yeah, that could well have gone in, so fair play to him. Now I start to face hug him. I can deal with him. I have a quick look at what the T-71's doing. I have a quick look, constantly looking around on a reload, making sure that nothing's, just popped up out of nowhere is going to get me. IS-8, again, if you know, I knew he was going to reload before me, so I just kept moving. Got to keep moving. It's what I like to call the IS-7 shuffle, okay? Because of the angle on this tank, and there's obvious spots where people are going to be aiming at. Keep moving, guys. If people are aiming at you, the only time you should stop moving the front of your tank when you're being shot at is when you're trying to aim at something, okay? Keep moving all the time. You can see my friend down there on 76 health. He's Brown Wolf, big shout out. He's not doing too well, but hey, it happens. But anyway, keep moving in this tank, okay? The more you move, the more it's going to throw off their aim. Get another nice hit into the guy. Gonna have a quick look around. There's the WZ. It's kind of the bane of my life in this game. That guy hits the gun right there, which is kind of lucky for me. But there we go, finish him off. WZ still being the bane of my life, still shooting and tracking me. That IS-7's in a bad way, so I finished that guy off. He says thank you in the chat, which was nice of him. Now I make the decision here that I want to chase the WZ. Wasn't a good move, although it turns out to be okay in the end. 66 miles an hour downhill, guys. This thing shifts. However, the WZ did have a bit of a lead. This would have been the shot of the century had it hit. But again, the accuracy of this gun and the aiming time is just bollocks. Decided I don't want to go up the hill. Having said that though, if I'd have gone over here, I would have been facing a Batchat, an IS-7 and another IS-7. So maybe coming back down here was the better idea, but hey. 4,000 damage so far. Taken quite a lot of damage. I turn in here because I'm not paying attention. I was talking to my friend on TS at the time, so my attention span's kind of limited. So right now the position we're in is not great at all. Where all the tanks are really spread out. They still have an E100, 2 IS-7s and a Batchat left. We have an E100, 2 IS-7s and a 268 left. So it's actually not too bad. That WZ's making a bit of making mischief of himself, but what can you do? IS-7 as I come around the corner, put a nice big round into him. Now I see IE100s here. I know the IS-7's going along here, so I'm going to come up behind him here and flank him, because then he has to be looking, always try and make sure they have to look as many different ways as possible, guys. If he comes along here, I know he's going to stop here and try to shoot the E100, so me coming up here would mean that he can still watch both of us at the same time. Okay, if I'm here and the E100's here, he has to look in one direction. If I come round here, it will take me a bit longer to get there, but then he will die, because he has to look at one of us and deal with one of us, and then the other one can just shoot him. It's all about controlling engagements. I have a quick look to check the E100 position. Okay, he's doing fine. E100 gets a shot away, and I can hear that he's tracked the IS-7. Spin around the corner. Look at the aim time on this, guys. Oh, it's crushing. Get a nice big 600 roll into the back of that guy. Here we go with the IS-7 shuffle. Watch me move my tank. See that? See, I'm wiggling all the time. I'm driving at him. I fired. I can't fire. All I can do is try and make it harder for him to hit me. Wiggle your tank, slide backwards and forwards, and it took him ages to fire. I mean, you guys saw. I got right up to him. And he panicked in the end, and where did he put the shot? Right there. right on my upper plate, never going to go in, you know, make them panic. So he tries to flank me, put a round into the side of him. 5.4k damage, 3 kills. All is not well on the other side of the map. Our guys are trying to cap, which is really not a good idea. And so my goal now is I need to get over here before these guys collapse on these two, okay? Because if these guys can collapse on these two and kill them, it's me and the E100 versus 4 tanks. So again, it's splitting their focus. If I can get over here and start putting fire into them while they're still trying to kill these guys, we will win the game. So, using the speed of the IS-7. Have a quick look down here. Okay, WZ, don't really care about him right now. The E100 gets killed by the other E100, so he dies there to that guy. The IS-7's died on the cap, only the 268 left. So it's now me and a 268 versus an E100 and IS-7 and the WZ. Now, as I said, start to split them up, putting pressure, which means that 268's just died, however. So it's now me versus an E100 on 1400 health, an IS-7 on 250 and the WZ somewhere. I have 730 health. So here we go. E100, slow it down a little bit. I move over to here, aim for his lower plate, put a round in, start to back off, and check the WZ isn't coming up behind me. Now, because of where we are, I can kind of use this bit as hold down right here. However, he's doing the right thing, he's driving out. And again, the IS-7 shuffle, guys. IS-7 shuffle. There you go, see? Twisting my tank. And sadly, he bounces. But he does try and put a round right there. He was probably aiming for my lower plate. I don't think he could hit it from where he was. No, I don't think he could hit it. And if it was a pretty narrow angle. So he's fired. I'm coming up on a reload, which means that I need to push him right now. Bang. 410. Unlucky with the roll. But whatever, sometimes it happens. What are you going to do? So now I know he's on a reload, and I know that I load faster than he does. Or yeah, I will load slightly faster than he will here. So I need to push and make it work. He's right on my average roll. I know one more hit's going to kill him. Now, the reason this is pretty rash what I do here, however, the WZ's coming up behind me. He's probably got gold loaded. The IS-7 I know is going to be here. So at this point, if I start to play defensively, I am going to be in a bad way. What would happen is that if I'd stay behind there, I would turn to aim at the WZ. He would have reversed behind there, so I wouldn't have got a shot on him. In that time, the IS-7 will have driven up to this bit here, and the E100 would still be here. Then I've got nowhere to go. I would have come out of here, taken a shot on one of them. If I might have, if I kill one of them, the other one will just rush me, and then with the WZ behind, I will just get 1v2'd. Okay, I've only got 700 health left, so I do something pretty rash, and it does pay off. WZ bounces a heat round off the back of my tank. That was pretty bloody lucky. Although as you can see, the armor on the back of the tank pretty good. I was at that kind of angle. I think it's got 100 and something armor, so pretty lucky that happened. Drive around the corner. He fires and misses, thank God, and I do a bit of a drive-by. Now luckily that does go where I aim it. It was at point blank range, so I was kind of expecting that to end up okay, and it does. The IS-7 misses me and hits his friend, although he's already dead, so it's not a big deal, but that was pretty game winning right there. So now I know WZ's turned back behind the corner. I know the IS-7's fired, so I spin around to watch him. WZ's coming back out again. I know the IS-7's fired, so I'm angling myself against the WZ. No, we fired. He does get around into me, but I mean, I kind of knew he was going to, so I'm alright to take that. At this point of the game, it's me versus the WZ. I just wanted to make very, very sure that my round killed him. If he shoots me and gets a round into me like he did, fine, okay? That means I've got 580 health to deal with the WZ, who's on 385 health. It's all about managing risks, okay? I was quite okay at that point for him to shoot me. I just really needed to make sure that my shot went into him. If it didn't, I would have been in trouble, to put it that way. So let's speed it back up again. Oh dear. The WZ starts running away, as he should. Doesn't make a difference to me, I'll just go and cap, as all the people in my team try and tell me. So I say, you know, oh really? Because, you know, yeah. According to the stats, I'm the best player here, guys. I don't need you guys telling me what I should and shouldn't do. So here we go. Right. Now, the WZ can still be a problem for me. If you can get behind, if you can circle me, that will be a problem. You know, and he can still reset the cap and drag the game out with explosive. However, and he's not a bad player. We've seen this before. He kind of knows what he's doing. So I think, okay. So I start to use this guy. So I position myself here pretty much. Now what this means is that if he comes from down here or from here, I can angle myself instantly against him, and he's not going to be able to pen my front. If he comes from down there, he can't hit me because the corpse's IS-7 is in the way. If he comes from over there, I can just drive forward a little bit and he won't be able to shoot me. Okay, always try and use the corpses, guys, and also this stuff will protect me from over here as well. So I pick my spot and I sit there. And now I'm thinking about it and I'm like, okay, well, you know, other thing you can do, make your own cover, as you're about to see. I decide to start angling this IS-7 a bit better, so I can defend a little bit more against the places from the right. There we go. So now, same kind of deal. I've got better lines of fire over here. It's protecting me better from over there. So yeah, there we go. So now we just wait. He needs to come get me because I'm going to cap before him. People are being idiots in the chat. Shocker. And there he comes. He's coming up behind. I drive forward instantly to make sure he can't get me from the back. He doesn't even try. Spin my turret round. Where's he going? He's going this side. Put around into him and finish him off. 7,400 damage, 6 kills, Top Gun. I got the Mastery badge for that game, the Ace Tanker. I got a Top Gun. I got High Caliber. And I got a Steel Wall as well. I received, I think it was 8,300 potential damage in that game. So that really kind of shows you what the IS-7 can do, guys. Although it's not really my favourite tank, it can really boss games. If you abuse the fact that its alpha is huge and its armor, if you just, you know, always, guys, do the IS-7 shuffle all the time. If you're not about to fire, just wiggle your tank, wiggle it towards the enemy, and they're, you know, I guarantee you 8 out of 10 times they're going to fluff their shots. Yeah, so pretty good game overall. Yeah. Anyway, on to the next one. So there we go, guys. The IS-7. Despite what I said earlier, it's still, despite the replay rather, it's still not my favourite tank. But you know, under the right circumstances, it can perform pretty well. I was going to give you guys another replay, but I think the last one was probably good enough. In fact, and also if I give you another replay, this video would be about 9 hours long. Okay, so that's pretty much that. Yeah, the line's really good. The end result's good, although it's a bit more, it's a bit less versatile than I'd like it to be. However, buffing it in any way would make it overpowered. I just don't think it's a tank that suits my playstyle particularly well. Having said that, nothing against the tank. It's a really good solid tank. I mean, as you just saw in that game. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, guys. As usual, comments, feedback, you know, telling me to keep the videos shorter, just shout it at me. And I'll see you guys next time. Again, if you guys, anything along here you guys want me to talk about, although I've talked about most of them at this point. I'm still trying to get a review for this out. I'll get there eventually. I don't know, probably a lot of you guys kind of want to see what this is like, but I promise I'll get there. Alright. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time.